Hey everybody, it's Jason with Modeling Pros. In my last video, I was talking about a technique I was going to use to accomplish chipping. So now that I have airbrushed the top of this plane in the olive drab, I wanted to show you how it turned out. I wish I had a much better camera. I don't. So I'm hoping you guys are going to be able to see this pretty well. First of all, as you can see, the top of the plane is now olive drab. I'll take a minute just to talk to you about that. Remember in my last video I told you I was going to be using the Tamiya XF62 acrylic. You may remember a couple videos ago I said that acrylics were kind of new for me, something I hadn't dealt with a lot, and when I painted the bottom of the plane I was extremely pleased with that acrylic, which was a tester's acrylic. Well, I'm extremely pleased with this as well. It went on beautifully, it flowed out of the airbrush fantastically, and the color, I wish you could just see it in person because it's just excellent. It's just absolutely excellent. Now, I did completely take my airbrush down to its bare bones to clean it thoroughly because I did not feel that it was coming very clean through my normal process, which is in line with what I said about the acrylics a couple of videos ago. There may be a better way to clean them. I don't know what it is. Everybody brags that the acrylics clean up so easily. I'm not experiencing that same, I'm not having the same experience. Couple of other things. I had masked off the inside of the cockpit with some masking tape and with some of the Elmer's poster tack. Having pulled that away, absolutely no damage to the paint. It's perfect. If you can see this right here, that is not a paint damaged area. It's just an area that I covered up and had not painted. So I'm going to have to just put a little brush paint there, and that'll take care of that. Not a big deal at all. Now to the chipping. I had said, if you'll remember, that what I was going to do was, well, what I did do was I wet these, I had painted these silver, I wet them, I put salt, ground salt on them, and then I painted the olive drab over it. Had I simply used my finger to brush away the salt when I was done, it would have been perfect. You can probably see right here, there is a paint chip. There. It all comes through silver. It looks fantastic. It looks exactly like I wanted it to look. Unfortunately, when I first started moving the salt away, I didn't just brush it away with my finger. I told you in the video that when I was done, I was going to use one of these. This is a buffing stick. That was a mistake. If you do this technique, don't use a buffing stick. Why? Well, what happened was when I laid the buffing stick across here and began to buff away, or what I wanted to do was buff away the salt, instead the buffing stick actually dragged the salt granules across the paint and damaged the paint. So I don't know if you can see this very well or not, but there is damage here to the paint. It's really not a big deal. All I'm going to have to do is come in with the airbrush with a little more of the Tamiya acrylic olive drab and just touch it up in those areas, leaving the places that I want to stay, the silver chipping spots that you can see here. I'll leave those, and I'll just come in with the airbrush and touch up these. Now, as I said in the previous video, also, when you look at pictures, these are not the only places where chipping occurs. I am going to do some chipping along the fronts of the wings, but I'm going to use a different technique for that, so we'll cover that in another video. You may notice also, now that I have the olive drab on the top, that right here above the machine guns, because I had them taped, it's still the primer color under there. That's not a problem at all, because when I do the post shading, I'm going to be putting more black around these guns to simulate the, the sulfur or the powder that comes out as these guns are firing. All that will go away. Now, one thing that I forgot to show you before I painted the top was the taping of the bottom. If you look here, we have a real fine line there. That was done with Tamiya masking tape. Same thing here. It did bleed a little there. I'm going to have to probably touch that up with a brush. But other than that one spot, it didn't bleed anywhere else. I'll show you the other side here. Really nice lines. Now what I did not have to do was tape the leading edges of the wings, or for that matter, the back edges of the wings. By simply holding the plane at about this angle and taking the brush and running it like this, I got the effect that I wanted across the front of the wings without having to use any tape at all. So you can see the line looks almost perfect, almost taped, but it isn't. And really, I didn't want it to look perfectly taped, because when I look at pictures of these planes, the two colors do bleed in together to an extent. They are kind of hazy and blurred where they come together. They're not perfectly lined across, which is the effect you get with tape. You get a perfect line. So on future planes, I may try making this line without tape just to see if I can get the same effect that the real planes have, but I'm happy with this. It's close. You may also remember some videos ago when I was talking about painting the rear stabilizers. Now the bottoms are gray, the tops are green, and I did that off the plane and then added them to the plane. I actually haven't used any adhesive yet. See, they still come off, but I will eventually. I only have one more thing I want to talk to you about tonight, and that is this. This portion, I mentioned this in a previous video as well, these portions right here of these flaps, the insides of them that you're seeing, are, in the pictures that I looked at online, a different color than this neutral gray. These flaps, there are two of them, I'm just going to show you one, mount on there like so, and the inside of that is also not going to be in neutral gray. In the pictures that I found, they were almost a beige. Well, when I was at Hobby Lobby yesterday, I noticed, well, I had seen before, that they have a small selection of Vallejo acrylics. I've never used Vallejo. A lot of the people that I watch online use Vallejo quite a bit. I've only used Testors and Tamiya paints. So I decided that this, of all the paints that I could find in the store that day, which was mostly Testors but a little bit of Vallejo, this paint right here looked the most like the color that I saw in the pictures. So when I get back to my airbrush, I'm going to be finding out what I think of Vallejo paints. I'm really actually kind of excited about trying something new. So my next step is going to be touching up the damage that I accidentally did here while leaving the silver marks that are designed to look like paint chips, and airbrushing these flaps here and the bottoms of the flaps that are going to mount onto that. So I look forward to showing that to you guys in the next video, showing you how that turned out. And I hope you like what you see here. I wish you could see it in person, because it's absolute. The Tamiya acrylics are just absolutely fantastic. I'm glad I listened to the guy at the hobby store the other day who was trying to sell me on this, because he did sell me. I tried it, and I'm thrilled to death with it. Anyway, see you guys next time. Thanks. Bye.